Okay, we are recording. Hi everyone, and welcome again to my audio-visual channel. My name is Gabriela Handal. I'm a draftsman and your host for this podcast, A Conversation About Art. With these conversations, I am doing long-term research on the meaning of art and beauty through conversations with colleagues in different artistic fields. Today, I bring you episode 108 with artist Hope Ricciardi. If you enjoy this video, please like and share all the videos and subscribe because these actions are very helpful. You can help even further by checking out the links in the description. Hope, welcome to A Conversation
Yep.
About Art. You are episode 108. Please tell our listeners and viewers who you are and what you do.
Well, hi, Gabriela. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
My name's Hope Ricciardi, and
Ricciardi.
I originally grew up and worked in the art world in Boston, and then about 4 years ago moved to the Southwest. So now I'm in Sedona, Arizona. And I was in Boston. I had a studio in the SOA district for a few decades and was pretty busy there. My art education is from the Museum School in Boston and Tufts University.
Okay. So, why did you only just move to Sedona?
Well, as I was getting on in years, I was looking for a little more sunshine.
Yes.
And Sedona was a place I had visited and always wanted to come back to. And for some reason, it just felt right. So we packed up and came.
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense because as I told you, which is how I found your card. Why I went to Sedona also recently, and the place is kind of crazy. It's unbelievable. It just the landscape is amazing, and
Yeah,
that orange dirt, the orange rocks and the shapes they take, and the fact that apparently within the state it's not allowed to have buildings that are like higher than 2 floors, I think, which is genius.
right,
It's genius. That's perfect. Um,
right.
it's like so like when I got back home, because I was only there for like 4 days, but when I came back, I was like, why don't they do that here in New York? It's like, just because we don't have like orange rocks doesn't mean we don't, because you deprive pedestrians or whomever from the sunlight, and like that's sunlight is cool.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, were you also painting landscape in Boston? And also, where's your accent?
I think my husband took over the accent.
Yes. Okay. Okay. He kept
For
it.
some reason, I avoided it. I don't know how. Um, Actually, in Boston, I ran classes out of my studio, and they were predominantly figurative.
I see.
So I had models a lot in the studio, but I'm also very attracted to architecture. So my body of work was often Boston architecture, like the Boston Public Library or the Gardner Museum, something that intrigued me. And I would combine it with figurative imagery as well. Um, so when I came to Sedona, I started doing plein air painting outdoors, doing landscapes, which was fairly new for me.
Mm.
Um, but in the figure out here, the landscape to me is very figurative
Yeah, I can see that.
and also architectural. So if you go to places like the Grand Canyon, for instance, there's so much architecture in those shapes. So that's how I think of it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. And in a way, it like almost makes sense, in a way, because there's like a all right, just give me a second. There's like a lot of familiarity with like the things you were saying, like with the figure, with
Mm-hmm.
just landscape in general. But at the same time, there's kind of like also this feeling of just very foreign. Sometimes I think of or often I think of the body as an abstract because um
Right.
because it can, every time that you have a different person, and sometimes and often even just the same person, even if you're drawing them again, you kind of have to
Right.
start from zero in a way. I mean, because I don't know, it's like it's not that familiar that I'm not sure, like I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but I'm just saying that
I
I can see. Oh no, please go ahead, what you were going to say.
Oh, yeah, having done life art for most of my life and also taught it, I totally agree with you. I mean, the figure is always new to me every time I see it. Um, and to me, the bony landmarks of the figure really are a landscape.
Mm,
So I think I try to reference that in the work that I'm doing now.
yes. Okay. um all right, but why didn't you go to like Florida? Which is like the stereotypical, it's like the comically stereotypical destination for, people who want
Older
to
people.
want
Yeah.
yeah, for people who want more warmth.
I actually lived in Florida for about a year and a half because my mother was down there, and it doesn't resonate for me. I don't know why.
Interesting.
It's just doesn't attract me. And Sedona, for some reason, always had some kind of energy for me.
Mm,
So I wasn't really sure what I would end up doing in Sedona, but I figured I'd give it a try.
yes. Okay. And you're not going anywhere anymore.
I don't think so.
That's cool. No, that's really cool. It's there's just like and like again, I understand, especially I don't remember what the name of the place where I stayed is called, but we arrived in the airport, and you don't really have the orange rocks. You have to go
Right.
some direction, and then you have all these crazy, amazing rocks. Um, and yeah, I don't. I mean, I totally want to go back for sure. Um, just because, and I don't know, if I had my way, I might even want to live there a little bit, if possible. Um,
Yep.
just because I don't know, the availability of the sunlight and
Yeah.
just the landscape itself, and like also how readily available it is, and it seems like people like taking care of it, or people are into taking care of it. Um,
Yeah.
okay, okay, but so then you've been involved in art for a long time, long before being in Arizona. Um, so did you say that you mostly do oil paint?
Yes, I've worked in a lot of different mediums, but I always go back to being an oil painter. I think that is kind of in my blood, per se.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, I do have a very strong attraction to printmaking, which I did a lot of when I was in Boston. Uh, I worked with a famous printmaker there, Catherine Kiernan. She's pretty fabulous. So, um, and I also, for about 20 years, was doing sculpture and working in ceramics.
Okay. Um, but were those other practices like adjacent to the oil painting, or did you like stop oil painting to do those and then you went back to oil painting?
I always kept oil painting
Mm.
somewhat on the side. When I had the ceramic studio, that kind of takes over your life. Clay kind of is a dictator. So I found that I painted less when I was doing that kind of work. Um, but clay is also heavy and it gets tiresome after
Yeah,
a
yeah.
while on the body. So then I shifted when I got my studio in Boston, which was about 16 years ago. It was in the SOA district, which is our art district in Boston, and um, that's when I shifted out of ceramics completely and stayed with oil painting, drawing, and printmaking.
Okay, so would you say that you regularly do those three?
Yes, sometimes I'd combine them. I often took large canvases and I would collage prints onto the canvas, and then I would paint into that imagery.
Okay.
So I would combine drawing, painting, and printmaking.
Okay, so why do you think that those three mediums have stuck with you or you stuck with them? Like out of the things that you've tried, why do you like those the most? Those three, the oil painting, drawing, and printmaking.
Well, I'm very I'm very foundation based. So for me, drawing is a foundation that we all need. Um, I like yours, by the way. They're
Thank
really
you.
great. Um, yeah, so drawing to me is always important. Sometimes I'll be painting and feel a little stuck, and I'll pick up some charcoal and go back to drawing just to kind of get my brain on track again. Um, and then printmaking, I haven't done too much lately because I don't have a press any longer.
Hmm.
Uh, but I like I like the transition that happens when you work on a plate and then you print it onto a surface. There's something magical that happens in that transition, so I find that intriguing. And then oil paint, I don't know. I just love oil paint. I love the smell of it. I love the touch of it. I love everything about it.
Yeah, that's definitely commonality between people who like oil painting, that the smell is like the smell is like, I mean, the smell just comes up every time that somebody is an oil painter, and they're like, yeah, it's because the smell. And it's pretty, I mean, that's it's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. um but oh, and what kind of printmaking do you do when you do it? You said plate, is that like etching?
um, well, I've done some etching. I've done some collograph. I've done some block printing, but I would say I predominantly did monotypes.
I see.
So, you're just getting one. Sometimes you get a ghost image, but you're basically getting one print off of the plates.
Mm.
But I like the spontaneity of doing mono printing, because you get to work with it and see it right away. And also, you can mono print with oils, so
Ah, convenient.
you still get to play with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. So I'd like it if we talked a bit more about oil painting, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
your main squeeze in a way. um,
Yep.
so if you, I'd like it if you elaborate about why you have favored the medium this entire time. That, why do you think that you always return to it?
Um, there's something about. I mean, you're working on a surface, so you've got to figure out what kind of surface you want to work on, and you can play around with that. So as long as you know the rules about what binds to what, you can kind of manipulate it, and try out some different things. So for me, it's very playful. It's an opportunity to play with a medium that is kind of creamy and fun to move around. Um, and the new technology in oil paint has changed a lot of what you're able to do.
Mm-hmm. What
Um,
technology is that?
well, for a long time, of course, oil paint was terribly poisonous and not good for you.
Right.
So they've fixed a lot of those problems. And the companies like Gamblin have come up with ways to create oil paint in safer for your studio, creating non-solvent studios, all of these possibilities. And I think what that does is it expands what you're willing to play around and do with it.
Because you also have access to more colors that way, right?
Yeah.
Among other things.
Yeah. Yeah. And the colors, if you're using good quality paint, which I always tell people they should, because otherwise it's just wasting your time. The pigments are really refined, and they're expanding, because pigments are no longer just what you pull out of the ground. Now we have scientifically created pigments. The industrial age brought one level of pigments, and now the technological age is changing pigments. So we have new things like neon.
Right.
So there's a lot. There's a pretty wide spectrum of things that you can play with, which I like.
Okay. Okay, but why do you still like oil painting, even if there's kind of all of this prep work before to be done, and so I'm just kind of trying. Well, I mean, I'm really saying the things that I have issues with when it comes to oil painting, because I mean, I like oil painting as well. But
right.
But when I used to oil paint, it would take me very long to get started, and then it would take me even longer to be done, because when the moment where I'm finished painting came, or even if I wasn't finished painting but I was done for the day and the painting isn't done but I still have to paint another day, it's like there's all of these dirty brushes, they have oil, there's oil everywhere, and then just the day that one would have to clean the brushes, it's just like you have to clean all the brushes, which it takes a while if you want to do it right, with each brush. And anyway, the thing is that, why do you like oil painting in spite of that? And especially because you do it outside.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's like a whole nother thing, because then you got to be able to pack it up and hike with it.
Yes, I'm saying.
I think it's my personality. People tend to be either product oriented or process oriented.
Okay.
And I love process, even if it's cleaning my brushes.
I see.
So there's, maybe it's my Capricornness. I don't know. But I love all the steps involved. I mean, I can feel good just gessoing a canvas.
I see.
So it's, using the tools and spreading it around. And to me, that's fun play. But I totally understand what you're saying. Most people would think that's a little bit crazy.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I can totally see that. There's this other artist that somebody else that I'm trying to get on the podcast, if he would just, whatever. His name is Jeff Hines, or I think it's Hines, the last name. And in one of the interviews of his that I was listening to, he said how he doesn't like painting, but he's just trying to get to. So I guess he's product oriented, like you were saying,
Gotcha.
in the sense that he is very willing, because, for example, he also has a podcast, and before starting the podcast, he did all his research and he got all the materials that he needed. Like, he wanted to have like a room and the software and the camera and this type of stuff. So then being product oriented, he willingly tolerated because, I don't know, I mean, you probably know, but tolerating means just barely putting up with something. So he tolerated those things in order to be able to do his podcast. So he's like, I want this to work out as well as possible, so I will do all of these things. It's like, I want to do this thing, so I'm willing to deal with all of this stuff. So that's very interesting, and it also reminds me, in my case, of cleaning because I do not like cleaning, but I really like it when the place is clean, like when it's done.
Right.
It's like, all right, I did that, and that's cool, and it feels good, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but I guess it's also interesting in the sense that when I'm drawing, I mean, I don't strictly have to get ready in the same way that I would have to get ready for oil painting. Like I don't have to pull out the oil paints or put them on the palette or anything. But
Right.
the drawing itself, the making of the drawing itself, like that is the process. Also, that's also process, and I'm very willing and not and I tolerate it very well. I mean I like it just fine. The process of it as well. To the point where sometimes I'm like, I wish I could draw more on this because for me it's the drawing. I get to the point where the drawing is done, and I'm like, I kind
Right.
of want to work on it more just because I'm enjoying making the thing.
Right.
So, so I wonder what is it. I wonder what it is that determines what process, if what process one is willing to put up with. You know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just a personal behavior and everybody has to find the level at which they enjoy that. I know many people who have studios that are just, covered in art supplies and paint and stuff, and that's the way they like to work. I'm a bit anal, so I like things all organized and labeled and but that became more so as I got older
Mm,
because I don't want to waste a lot of time looking for things and
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that also makes me think of process too, because getting your studio nice and comfortable for
right.
working is also kind of part of the process of making the work in a way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
for me it's just part of it.
Yes, yes. Okay.
I'm besides being a painter about 7 years ago when I was in Boston, my son bought me a coffee maker.
Mm-hmm.
So he this coffee maker uses these aluminum pods for the coffee that are all done in different colors. So I couldn't bear to throw them away and I started making work with them.
Ah.
So I make these things they kind of look like mosaics.
Mm.
And I coined the phrase caffeinated art.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
it's and I thought it would just be kind of a funny thing to do on the side and it's to I still do it to this day and it sells like crazy.
Oh, nice.
Um yeah. So it's kind of like painting but using a mosaic style because you're cutting things up and putting them down and. So I do pretty much the same kind of imagery that I do with paint because I'm doing a lot of landscapes and architecture, that kind of thing. Um, so, it's just sort of another form of painting almost, but that requires enormous organization because I must have easily like 500 different colored pods
Right.
and I have to organize them in a way where I can find the color I need. Um, so maybe that appealed to my organizational side. I don't know.
Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, I talked recently with another artist, and she was in. She does egg tempera and silver point, and she was
Oh,
talking. She was talking about something of the sort about how in order to do these two mediums, you have to have kind of like that organized sort of personality, or
yeah,
she called it nature, and then I was like, is that kind of like you mean like a personality trait? Because I mean, like we've been talking, it's like you have to kind of like be able to organize your steps in order
right.
to kind of, because for example in the case of silver point, or I mean metal point, the tonal range is very limited because of the metal. I mean, it depends on what metal and
Uh-huh.
material whatever you're using, but it's limited. You can't go super
Yeah.
duper dark or something, and so like you can't go
Right.
making super dark marks right from the beginning. Like you have to go in layers in this type of. I mean, I'm not talking from
Right.
experience. I just know that. I just know that of the medium, and she
Yeah.
and she was just telling me how like if somebody has kind of like this organizational thing about them and she notices that and somehow when she's giving classes she's like, yeah, you're gonna do fine in the metal point. And it's funny. That I thought that was pretty cool. Okay. All right, so Mrs. Ricciardi, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Ricciardi.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, Ricciardi. Okay. What is art? What is art?
You can call me Hope, by the way. It's
Oh,
easier.
yeah, sure.
What is art?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I guess I can only talk about what it is. I can talk about it in two ways. I could talk about what I perceive to be art in terms of being a viewer of art, or I could talk about it in terms of what it means to me. Um, so I would say, for me personally, it's been a sort of a built-in almost addiction. I always felt the need to make something
Mm-hmm.
since I was tiny. So I think some people are just born with this desire to make things. Um, and that's, I think, gets confused because people will say, well, you're so talented. And it's like, no, I wasn't really born knowing what to do.
Right.
I was born with a desire to want to learn what to do.
Right.
And then, many years later, many paintings later, hopefully you could figure it out.
Yes.
Um, but for me, in terms of being an observer of art, for me, I'm a bit old fashioned in that I need to see evidence of some kind of foundation in the
Mm.
work. Um, I'm a real fan of drawing, huge fan. And I think people who know how to draw, it is evident whether they're doing landscapes or whether they're doing abstracts. And, the knowledge and knowing what to do in your drawing skills, I think, just comes through the work. So I often gravitate towards artwork that shows that kind of foundation. Um, I don't know. Am I going off topic?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, if
Uh,
yeah, please go continue if you were gonna say something more.
well, it recently came to my mind that I went to the Heard Museum on last Friday
Mm.
in Phoenix. Fantastic museum if you ever get the opportunity. It's a beautifully curated collection of indigenous work.
Mm.
Um, and they happen to have a very large exhibit going on right now that was about Maria Martinez, the potter. She does that black on black, iconic black on black pottery. And then they combined it with information and imagery of the Art Deco period, which influenced
Mm.
her tremendously.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So she's combining her indigenous iconography with um, Art Deco design and making these just amazing pieces. Um, so I was just really taken with the foundation, the extensive foundation of that she had when she brought this to pottery.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds. Um. Would you repeat her name, please? Maria.
Maria Martinez.
And did you refer to the pottery, like the black on black pottery, as iconic because of the way she does it, or because that kind of technique is just really striking?
Well, I think she's quite unique.
Oh, so that's like a thing of hers.
Yeah, yeah.
I see.
This is in the pottery world, she's like a god or goddess.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm curious about your use of the term addiction, in terms of, you know, as part of the definition of art.
Uh-huh.
And I also, all right, let's start with that. And the reason for which it kind of, I don't know, called my attention or whatever, kind of like stuck with me, is because I guess I think of addictions as kind of like a detrimental sort of thing, in the sense that,
Right.
because I mean, and I'm obviously not saying that the desire to make works of art is detrimental, because it's not. Um, but I'm just curious about the description of it, of your desire to make work using that term.
Uh-huh.
So like, why wouldn't you say like, oh, it's a need that I have, like eating or drinking water, for example?
Well, I think it is. Need is a great word for it. For me, it feels extremely tied into my level of happiness.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, um, I think if I were given a choice between, some kind of drug that could make me happy or going in the studio and painting, I'd rather be painting.
Sure, yeah.
So, I guess that's why I use that word, because I do feel like it's very tied into my level of happiness in the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Um, okay. So yeah, and I also liked how you went into. I don't remember if it was part of what is art as a viewer or an artist. I think a viewer. That you enjoy work that shows foundational skill, basically meaning, drawing, painting, or sculpture, or, pottery as well.
Yep.
Um, and I guess I just find it really refreshing because you know where we've been in the era of art can be anything for, I think, about a century now, or just under a century.
Right.
And it just gets old and frustrating when a person doesn't see any problems with saying that or agreeing with that. And also because having grown up, you know hearing that, I guess, or being taught that, or whatever,
Right.
and then making drawings, it didn't make any sense to me when I would make drawings, and I was like, there's no way that anything can be art. There's no way. But then I thought I had to like tolerate it. It's like, oh, who am I to judge? What do I know? That, like, this type of stuff. Uh, and then, like, all the while kind of feeling like a snob when I was like, that, first of all, that looks like shit, and second of all, that's probably not art. Whatever it may be.
Well, I think you and I would get along on this issue.
Yeah. It's like we're singing to the choir here.
Right.
It's just that it's, like, I don't understand why so many people feel comfortable putting two different objects under the same category. And well, you can tell me what you think about this, because I am curious about why it has been so prevalent that it continues to be that people will think that art can be anything, because first of all, like I was just saying, it doesn't make any sense to me that it does. And second of all, I also think that it's because one of the reasons is because it's easier, it's easier for somebody that has like a desire to maybe make something, and then thinking that art can be anything doesn't demand anything of the person. It's like, you don't have to have any skill, you don't have
Right.
to know what you're doing.
Right.
It's easier. So, I mean, yeah,
Right.
well, tell me what you think about that.
Well, yeah, I share some frustration on this issue. Sedona is sort of a center that boasts having a lot of artists. I would suggest that we have a lot of people making mediocre stuff.
Right.
Um, but there are some very good artists in this community and certainly in the Southwest. It's an interesting thing. I don't happen, for instance, I'll just use this as an example. I don't happen to be a particularly aficionado of things that involve like poured acrylics or buckets hanging from beams of ceilings swinging around.
Mm-hmm,
I don't find that particularly compelling because it seems to me that that's gravity making art.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I again, I look at that kind of work and I say, yeah, but where's the evidence of ability to draw or ability to move things in a way that is pleasing, or even an ability to see color in an intriguing way? Um, so I get pretty critical about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah. And I also get sort of like, I can get a little bit sort of feisty about the fact that people think they can just pick up a brush and boom, they're an artist.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so people, it's funny. I've often been asked over the years when people look at a piece of work and they'll question a price or something on it, and they'll say to me, yeah, but how long did it take you? And I'll say 50 years.
Yeah.
you know
It's like it took my whole life.
um,
Okay, calm down.
exactly, because art, as you know, is an accumulative thing. You learn from every piece you make, and you continue to learn forever. I don't think I'll ever stop. um, and then that what you've learned from that piece is evident in the next piece. So maybe the next piece may be a higher caliber of art than the piece you did before. I don't know.
Mm.
Sometimes that happens. Um, so yeah, I can get um, a little aggravated when people seem to think that this is an easy path to a product.
Mm. Yes, yes. And actually, that was something that I wanted to tell you earlier about the whole thing about talent and stuff. I recorded a whole last video about how talent doesn't exist. What
Exactly.
and because it's like it's somebody meets you at this point of your life, and they're like, oh my god, you're so talented, because like they're seeing you at this point of your life, and they don't know you. Obviously, they have no way of knowing that you have been doing it your entire life, but they got to you at the point where you have some skill under your belt.
Right.
So then they don't know that it took just studying, basically like studying anything else, in order to kind of polish the thing that you wanted to do. And so like the kind of like the premise, the discussion in the video is kind of predicated on a discussion I had with my conversation I had with my husband on the subject, that maybe because people will say that talent is innate, meaning that you're born with the thing and you're just born being good at the thing. So like the person that meets you now thinks that you were making the things you're doing now just your whole life out of the womb or something, right? That's what they think. And that's
Right.
obviously ridiculous, and that's not
Right.
to say not to say that doesn't happen, because sure, it happens. Some people start very young and they seem to be really good from youth, whatever. But those are outliers.
Right.
It's not like the majority of people. So like I was thinking that what might be innate, which is applicable to all fields of interest, is interest. It's like, okay, you have an interest in making
Exactly.
stuff. I have an interest in making stuff. But that is not all you need. You need the desire to, like you were saying, also the desire to learn how to make the things, and then how to
Exactly.
make the good things. And so like that's still, that is still not immediate. It takes polishing and honing the skill and like all learning, looking at stuff and all of that stuff, and that is also very frustrating.
Well, I had an interesting conversation with a customer, actually. He's a pretty renowned surgeon.
Oh.
And he said to me, "Oh, wow, your work really is, you're so talented. This looks really great. I love this piece." And I'm like, I don't like the word talent. And I said, "Tell me, doctor, does somebody walk up to you after surgery and say, 'Oh, you're so talented'?"
Right.
And he said, "Well, no, they assume that I'm trained and I have skill that I've worked on."
Yes.
I said, "Yeah, me too."
Yes. Yeah, but you know what? I think that's a consequence. I think it's one of the many consequences of thinking that art can be anything. Meaning, so then it's one of the results is that people will think that you don't have to do shit to make a work of art.
Exactly.
So then that's somebody will be like, "Oh, why are you charging me $5,000 for this thing that took you like maybe an hour of your whole day?" Or So it's like something like that.
Right.
All right. Yeah, that's okay. All right. So Hope, what is beauty in your opinion?
Huh. I think that's a tougher question. I mean, for me personally, whenever I think of the word beauty, I always think of the forms that I see in the figure, because there's just something about, and I see those forms everywhere. As I said, the landscapes out here are very figurative to me. But there is definitely the shapes and forms that are in the human figure, I think, just intrigue me so much. But in terms of, so I guess in a bigger scope, I mean, one of the reasons I settled here is I find that I'm generally surrounded by beautiful things. The sky here is beautiful, the mountains, the whole landscape, everything, the colors. And I guess my paintings are trying to capture a little bit of some of that. I'm not sure where else I would go with that.
Yeah. Well, I quite like what you repeated about how the landscape is figurative, but you also said how you see the shapes of the figure in the landscape. And I like that a lot. It makes me think of, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of been alluded to in other episodes, somehow. But there's something about, I mean, because, we are of nature, we're humans are a product of nature. And when we look at a landscape and just nature, just animals and, the sky, hills, or whatever it is, trees, nature has her own proportions. I mean, like all of those things have proportions and shapes and colors that repeat in all of the things which she produces, but in different ways. Right. So then that's how you get, that's probably how you could find the color of the orange rocks in a person, or like in an animal.
Right.
And that's really pretty cool. And it makes a lot of sense that one could experience beauty by contemplating all of those, any one of those things, or just like all of them,
Yeah, and I'm often struck by, I mean, the Red Rocks are a very different landscape than what I grew up with in the Northeast. to say the least. And I'm really struck by the fact that the rock formations out here have such a skin-like tactile
Mm.
quality. They're so fleshy, um, not only in color but in the way they're surfaced.
Mm.
They can often feel like flesh. Um, so that's been a very intriguing thing. And then I find that, I mean, the northern part of the Southwest is even more so. I find Utah to be amazing
Mm.
uh, in that area. So, yeah, I think, and I think some of the attraction for me is that I spent 70 years in the Northeast, and now I'm here in a totally different landscape. It's almost like somebody landed me on a new planet.
Yeah.
So everything feels new again, which is pretty exciting at this stage of life for things to feel new.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds really cool. And also, you know what else about the landscape in Sedona? Because that's where the Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote cartoons happen, isn't
Yep.
it? Because
Yep.
I mean, I hadn't seen any of that stuff in person until I don't. When was it? At the end of last year. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Because it's like I'd only seen that stuff in pictures and in cartoons, in movies, whatever.
Right.
So that's yeah. I can imagine. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that um, it'll be a while before you're kind of like satisfied with it. I think.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
There's it's so vast. And there's so much to see out here. I just have begun to really investigate it. Um, because first I had to like get myself in the kind of condition that I could strap 40 pounds of painting equipment to my back and
Mm-hmm.
start climbing mountains.
Yes,
So
yes. How did you do that?
I don't know, but it seems to be working.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's good
It's
exercise
pretty
too.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. It's terrific for you. And I'm really surprised because I had just completed 2 hip replacements when I came out of here.
Oh, that's
So,
crazy.
yeah. So when I called my surgeon and told him what I was doing, he was kind of like, wow, okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the point of the replacements that you can go back to doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And the titanium hangs in there for just about anything. So,
Nice, nice. That's cool. Okay.
yeah.
Um. Yes. So then, do you attach to your idea to the idea of beauty any of this like philosophical type stuff or
Well,
yes, go ahead.
I would say, yeah, because I don't consider myself religious, but I consider myself spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like knowing a narrative about the location that I'm working in. So I've been studying a lot of, indigenous folk tales about the land. I think it helps me see things in the landscape
Mm.
and put that kind of feeling into a painting. So I like the historic background. I'm a big fan of history anyway,
Mm-hmm.
particularly ancient civilizations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Okay.
would say that, knowing something spiritually about um, my the imagery that I'm working on is important.
Okay. All right. Well, Hope, we have broken the 50-minute mark of our conversation here, so I'm gonna start to close it out. Is there anything that you
Okay.
would like to add? Where can people find your work? Do you have any projects coming up? Like a show or a class or something like that?
Yeah. Um, well, the easiest way to find me is on my website, which is just my name, hopemricciardi.com. And my work is on exhibit at the Sedona Artist Market and Gallery in West Sedona. And coming up, uh, it looks like a fun, exciting year. Last year, I went to the Escalante Arts Festival for the first time
Mm-hmm.
and competed in a plein air festival. Slept in my car for 2 weeks
Oh my God.
and totally crazy. Um, Ended up actually winning their top awards. So
Oh, nice.
they've invited me back. So I'll be going there in September for 2 weeks to do workshops. And my painting from last year will be the painting that they use for all the PR for the
Nice.
next festival. Um, so I stay pretty busy that way. I do a lot of painting competition because plein air is kind of a competitive sport, which
Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah.
But it's a fun way of being with a community of people that are fun. And
That
so
like
I
your work.
enjoy that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds really great. Nice work with all that stuff, staying busy and really like effectively, being competitive in your field. You know. Um, so that's awesome. I'm gonna put the link for your website, and you have Instagram as well, right?
I do. I always forget what it's. I think it says Hope MR Artist
Okay.
or something like that.
Yeah. I'll put those. I will put those links in the description. So thank you very much, Hope, for talking with me today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to support Hope and my podcast, you can do so through the links in the video's description. So make sure to check those out. And so, in that case, thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Bye.